Good. I'd say he's day to day right now. I wouldn't rule him out for this week. I wouldn't rule him in. We'll just take it day to day, but things have obviously been optimistic. Just dealing with the information.
So that's really good news.
That's really good news, yeah, considering you didn't know which way it'd go on Sunday. So again, we'll just continue to take it day to day and see where he's at this week.
What about guys like Gunter or Tupou? That's a little bit dicey this week.
Tupou, certainly. Gunter, I said we'll take it week to week, and I wouldn't be optimistic about him this week. But those are the two main guys that are worth talking about. The other guys that were injured going into the game came out no worse for the wear, and we'll just manage them over the course of this week. T, Jonah, those guys, they look to be in good shape.
Excited to see Bocce get back out there.
Yeah, I am. He's been chomping at the bit. He's handled it really well. So we activated that 21-day window. He's been doing a great job over there on the rehab field. And obviously he's a guy that really stepped up for us last year when we needed him. So we're glad to get him up and running and see what he's about and see where it fits, this week or over the next couple of weeks.
What about Logan Wilson? Any update on his situation?
Yeah, he were you sitting there? He's day to day right now. Yeah.
Day to day. Gunter's day to day. He's day to day.
Uh-huh.
Zach,
Yeah.
we ask you all the time about getting off to a faster start, but Joe was saying it's particularly important this week because of the way Atlanta tries to win the time of possession battle. Do you sense that this is a game where you guys really feel that if you guys are able to get out to a lead, it could really help you?
It would help. They've done a great job playing from behind as well. Some of the games that they've lost, they've fought their way back. 20-3 against the Rams, came back and had the ball down 31-27. Tampa Bay had them down 21-0. 2 minutes left in the third quarter. They came back. It's 21-15. Tampa's got to convert a third down to win the game. Those are two of their losses. And then the last loss they had week one, the field goal that was short there at the very end on the last play of the game. So very similar to us in terms of how their games have played out. Got a lot of respect for how they're playing football right now. They're doing a great job on offense, being efficient in the passing game, pounding the run game at people. It's really a blend of multiple systems that's turned into one really finely tuned system that Arthur's put together just because you watch. I'm seeing so many things that Marcus Mariota has done since his college days that he's really excelled in. And then you see the 22-13 personnel stuff that you saw from Tennessee. They've matched all the play actions from Tennessee and San Francisco and all that kind of stuff is blended. You see the drift routes and the blaze outs and pylons. And so it's really a blend of systems that they've turned into the Atlanta system, and it really, really makes it tough on your defense, and they've done a good job operating there.
How has he evolved? How has Marcus Mariota evolved as an NFL quarterback?
I think he's just doing what he does best. He's making quick decisions. He can throw from any body angle, off these different play action looks they get. He'll lull you to death, run in zone reads and hand the balls off, and then pull one and run for touchdown, when you've kind of gotten used to him handing the ball off over and over again. And late in the game, he had a 20-yard run last week that kind of takes the wind out of your sails when he pulls one on his own read against San Fran. So he was 13-13. His only incompletion was the last pass of the game, where really San Fran just did a good job matching the routes on 3rd and 5, and he pretty much probably just threw it away, being smart there on the plus 40. And so he went 13-14. That's an impressive day considering how they ran it, how he ran it. He's got 3 games where he's run for over 50 yards. He's playing at a really high level, and he's doing exactly what they need him to do on offense. And they got really good weapons with Drake London and Kyle Pitts, and the way their offensive line's playing and those backs, the way they're utilizing those guys. It's just a really, really, really finely tuned offense they got going right now.
How much does the offensive game plan for you guys change when you're playing teams that can run the ball like Atlanta, or like teams that you're going to face here in the next couple of weeks, knowing that possessions could be limited?
Well, you just got to maximize your possessions. The points per drive is going to be critical, and I think we've had 8 possessions last week and probably around there against Baltimore. So we played these styles of games before. I mean, this is nothing new to us. Again, we can't afford to kind of do what we've done and get down 10 points and try to fight our way back. It's not the best way to play football. So we got to be more efficient early in the game.
Is the plan to rely on Tyler Shelton, maybe call him up this week at defensive tackle?
We'll see what we're going to do at D-line. I wouldn't say that's set in stone yet, but we'll obviously have to make some moves there.
Going back to the 2021 draft, how nervous were y'all when Lane was on the clock at 4 that Jamar might go off the board?
I don't remember. Honestly, I don't. I don't know why we maybe felt like they were taking Kyle Pitts, and so you felt like that's what they were doing. I'm sure Penei Sewell was in the mix. Jamar was in the mix. Maybe we would have thought they could have traded out of it. I don't really remember, to be honest with you. It seems like so long ago. But I remember going to Kyle Pitts' pro day, and it was as impressive as you can see, and he did a great job doing all the things he can do. They use him in the run game. He'll put his nose on people and block, and then all of a sudden they're in 13, and he's the one running routes down the field. He's run daggers, he's run drifts, he's run rail routes out of the backfield. They use him every way he can. He's the outside receiver. He's the single receiver in a 1x3. He's the outside receiver in a 3x1. He's the outside receiver in a 2x2. He's at number 3 in a 3x1. He's everywhere, fullback, and he's a real weapon with great speed and great torque and body control and hands. So really had the game-winning touchdown last week against San Francisco. They run a play action. He's on the backside one-on-one on a slant and wins. So they got a lot of good weapons, and they do a good job, utilizing those guys.
It seems like over the last few years, there's been a lot of receiving types. I don't know, you can call Pitts receiver, whatever, that have really come into the league with a unique set of skills. Jamar being one of them. How much are guys like that maybe affecting offensive schemes in the NFL that you have? So guys with unique abilities maybe you haven't seen ever, and how much is that kind of changing things?
They're rare players at that position. There's not a lot like them, like Jamar and Kyle. Those guys are two that were happen to be back-to-back in the same draft, which not every year where you have a receiver like that or especially a tight end like this. So when you get them, you got to find ways to maximize their potential and stress the defense. And, he's a tough guy to defend, and especially when they mix him up in the run game. So he's not just a receiver. They don't just utilize him as a receiver. They get in 13 and he blocks. And so, again, that makes it a little more difficult to account sometimes because then they utilize him off the play actions that way.
When you scout a player that closely, that recent, I know it feels like a long time ago, but it was just last year, does it help in preparing at all this week?
You're just more aware of the great things he can do, maybe. So whether that helps or not, I don't know.
Why are you guys so good on third down, Zach? I think you're third in the league right now. Why is that?
There's things that we believe in that we utilize. Our quarterback makes really good decisions. So you see a lot of different coverages and pressures you got to be able to deal with. And Joe, Ted spend a lot of time on the protection plan. Pitch and Brian do a great job of that. All of our coaches do a good job of relaying that information, Frank. And so when you got a guy who feels really good about what he's seeing, he's going to get you to the right person to get the ball to. And he runs sometimes too when it's there. It's better when you can put yourself in a more manageable position like we did last week. You're going to be better on third down when you're in more 3rd and 2 to 4 as opposed to 8 to 12. And you probably look at the games we were in 8 to 12. I'm sure Dallas, we were in a lot more of those. It's just the percentages are just lower, and especially when you're facing good pass rushes. So we just do things that we believe in. I think our players have always bought in and understood the plan. Joe does a good job with the protections, so you don't have a ton of free runners coming at you. And we've been able to be more efficient that way.
I think Jamar's leading the league in third down catches, which is kind of surprising. You figured that's when defense would be all over him.
I think that's hard because, we don't just leave him in one spot. And we have other guys. TB at times has led in third down, over the course of seasons. It wouldn't shock me to hear, T had the big third down touchdown against Miami. Hayden Hurst pops up there. So we just feel like we can utilize our resources that way, and so people can't just lock in on one. And we don't have plays where it's just say he's the only option. It's just oftentimes when Jamar gets one-on-one, the ball tends to find him, and he makes those plays. And we've seen teams play double-double. We've seen teams play triple-double. We've seen all the different looks, and you just got to be ready for the next man to step up when that happens.
How much growth, Zach, have you seen from Osai, not just as pure pass rusher, but maybe playing a little bit more inside, and given the situation right now, could that be really useful?
Well, it's just time on task. He had not had an opportunity to play much football for us. He got to play up until the first preseason game last year, so you're talking about a rookie that really only got about 3 weeks worth of physical work. And then he comes back this training camp, and this is really his first go at it. So it's really, he was a rookie this year. And so every week he continues to understand how to play, run downs, how to rush inside on third down when he's asked to do that. So I think you're just going to see a player who has the right makeup. He's being well coached, and he's going to continue to evolve every week and be a more effective player as every single week passes.
With ball out more? Like, how do you create more turnovers when the offense isn't necessarily going to throw the ball for those chances?
You're right. That doesn't change. It's we always count how many times we're pounding at the ball, regardless of the team that we play against, and that's always been a big point of emphasis. There's been games where we've gotten them out after the whistle. We're real close, and so that's certainly you need to win the turnover battle in games like this when the possessions may be limited. And so it's and when the ball's in the air, if you can get some tips and overthrows, you have to capitalize on those. And so. I think Atlanta's maybe +2 right now in their turnover battle, so they've done a good job. Takeaways, they got a fumble return for a touchdown early in the game last week that put them up 14-0. So that's important. They've fed off of that recently. There's been games we've really fed off that, so that's going to be a critical point in this game is who's going to win that turnover battle.
Does it feel like it's been a while since you played here?
It does. Yeah, it really does. I have no idea how long it's been, but I guess because it was a Thursday night, that tacks on another 4 days extra there, so it feels like it's been a while.
Zach, how much time, if any, do you prepare for the backup quarterback of a team, knowing the quarterback could go out, and what do you see from Desmond Ridder in case he was to come in the game?
I think you always have to be aware of what can happen when he goes. To say that you have a game plan that you practice would be really a waste of resources because we don't have that much reps that we get to do, but there's a reason they've got Desmond and Marcus. Their style of offense would be very similar. Desmond can beat you with his feet as well as his arm. They're both really smart quarterbacks. It's really a pretty good 1-2 combo as you look at how they've positioned their quarterback room. It's two guys that are in the same family of skill sets. And got a lot of respect for both those guys. They both played really great football over the course of their careers, relatively speaking.
Zach, the last 3 quarters and change of the game in New Orleans, the offense was in an incredible rhythm. How much of that rhythm can have a carryover effect in the NFL to the next week?
You feel good coming in Monday morning, but then it's just a totally different defense you're facing, and so you just got to start over, and start over is a terrible word to use, but you got to refocus and make sure that you're not, hey, because we were successful last week, we're going to start and be successful this week. That's what you have to be very cautious of as a coach, is making sure your players understand you got to start the work over on Wednesday as you begin your preparation, and just make sure, hey, just because we were good last week doesn't mean we're going to be good this week. We got to put the work back in and earn the success that we're going to have.
What about just unlocking a way that you played?
Say that one more time.
What about just unlocking something on offense? Can that be something that kind of cues you to what's working?
I think particularly the last 2 weeks, our end possessions, our last 4 or 5 possessions of those games have been really efficient, minus the goal line stand against Baltimore. It's just more about converting those early third downs. As good as we've been on third down, we've done a better job being efficient on first, second down maybe, and we got to finish that on third down as well. So it all blends together with those first couple drives. We just got to do a better job. This week happened to be more third down related, so that we can continue that rhythm that we've hit these last 2 weeks as we get into the second quarter and finish out these games.
What do you need to see from Logan Wilson?
It's feedback. I think ultimately, as every day passes, we'll see how he feels. There's nothing we need to rush. It's a long season. He's been through similar shoulder issues in the past, and so we want to make sure we're handling that the right way and not pushing somebody on the field. So it'll be a matter of how our trainers feel, how the doctors feel, how he feels as every day passes, and it's transition a little more from week to week to day, just as we talk more with Logan and get a feel for the week.
What is his practice schedule going to look like throughout the week?
He won't practice today.
What does the Atlanta Falcon defense look like on tape? Anything that they do that jumps out at you?
97 jumps out at you.
Yeah.
He's a premier player. To imagine him and DJ Reader playing next to each other at Clemson, I'm like, are you kidding me? And then Marion lists all the other players that were in that room as well. It's unbelievable. But it's a defense that really plays in sync. They're really gritty, tough defense, scrappy defense. They'll give you some different looks. They do a good job with their disguises and some of the pressures they bring and some of the different coverage variations they play. They played, I know they got an injury at corner with Hayward, but these other guys have played. Darren Hall, they've played 34, 37. They've gotten a lot of reps this year. And so I think it's a defense that you see improving every week, and they're doing a good job playing complementary ball with their offense and their special teams unit. And Dean Pease has done this for a long time. I remember playing against him in Baltimore, and just have a lot of respect for the unit that he puts out there on the field and how prepared they are and how hard they play. and they take advantage of every opportunity that you give them. And so that's we got to really be on point on offense.
You were very aggressive during the offseason for improving your offensive line through 6 weeks. How do you feel like those decisions you've made have resulted on the field? Really good. I think those guys have continued to play better and better every single week. And again, you've heard me sit in here. I was not down on those guys those first 2 weeks. This is a whole unit issue that we had early on that I think we've improved over and over. But those guys, the chemistry is unbelievable. If you could see Ted on a Saturday night talking through protections with the urgency and demeanor that he talks through it, and you'd be really excited to watch those guys play the next morning. And so again, it's a really good group. Frank's done a good job with them. Those guys are really cohesive in there. They've got great relationships with the guys behind them, and it's an exciting group to watch that I think is really helping us play well on offense.
Communication or technique or combination?
Everything, experience. I think it's so critical for guys like Cordell, just the learning curve he's getting. It's one thing to get it from the coach. It's another thing to have Ted and Jonah next to you as well. I think that just skyrockets his growth because he's willing to take that feedback and information. And so they're really helping him accelerate. So when you got a moldable guy who we liked, obviously, for reasons, we put him in there for reasons, and now you just see the growth that he's accelerating with because the guys around him and Frank and Derek. And then you just look at, Alex, you can tell Alex is healthy now after coming off the training camp issue he had. He's playing at a really high level. LC had his best game of the season last week against one of the best defensive ends in all football. And Ted just continues to be that reliable force inside. And then Jonah playing really well coming off a knee issue, the way that he played last week. So it's just a group that I'm really excited about, that I'm going to continue to see improvement from every week. And they've got a lot of belief in each other.
For LC specifically, is it a mixture of just physically getting healthier along
Sure.
with the comfort? You think it's both?
Yeah, I think it's probably both. He's you'd have to ask him, but he looks to be feeling better and better with every week that passes since training camp, and he just he packs a punch. That's what you see that you don't always get to see in practice and walkthroughs, but you can see it on the game tape. Is when he puts his hands on you, people clearly feel it. I've never had to experience it firsthand, thank God, but. He's just a veteran that does a really good job with his technique, giving himself every advantage.
Jonah allowed some sacks early in the season. Have you seen him kind of take a step forward since then?
Right, but it's not. Again, there's other things that are in play there. So I think Jonah's having a really solid season for us, and he's been dependable through and through, and really like what I'm seeing from Jonah.
Ted talking through protections. What exactly is that? Is that a meeting? Is that offensive line only?
We finished a walkthrough, and I heard him talking about Okie double bugs with the passion that, it's just it's the highest level of passion you can imagine about Okie double bugs and all the different looks that he saw one more time. He wanted to make sure that he got his points across, and I walked away. Those are player moments where he clearly wanted to take it over, but it made me feel really good about how we were going to handle those looks the next day. The meeting ended. Okay. It was over, and he decided to have another meeting. And it was, it's 8. It would have been 8:39 p.m. probably, right before the team meeting. Saturday night. Yeah.
Do y'all tag that Okie specifically, or is that a you thing? Like,
what's that?
You said Okie double bugs. Is that
It's just protection looks. Yeah, different fronts you can get. Oh, it has nothing to do with. Yeah, it's maybe a long time ago. I think it's more. Maybe. I don't know. I was about to give credit to somebody way decades ago, and I'm going to be careful to do that because I'm probably wrong.
How rare is that? I mean, how rare is somebody that does that at 8:39 on a Saturday night? Or does that happen?
That's what you want from your
sometimes?
center. You want someone who is passionate about everything, the way that Ted is, and he's an extension. I always talk about the quarterback being an extension of the coaching staff. The center's got to be that as well because he drives the communication up front. And so when you got a guy who's all in like that, Ted will coach. There's no doubt in my mind. Ted's going to coach, and he already is, basically. And so it's just don't make the mistake of referencing the wrong St. Francis. I saw that St. Francis had lost. That happened to be a St. Francis in PA, apparently, not in Indiana. He's very quick to point that out, that they had yet to play a game at the point that I made that comment, and I'm sure they're doing great right now. But, Ted's he's outstanding to visit with on that stuff.
Does Ted need a believe sign above his locker?
What's that?
Does Ted need a believe sign above his locker, like Ted Lasso?
No, because he's not as aw shucks. It's Ted clearly knows what he's talking about. I've seen those shows, and he's kind of feeling his way through it sometimes. That's not Ted at all.
They say that the third down is the quarterback's down.
Oh, yeah.
involved, it's the center, I guess it's the center man.
The quarterback and the center better be attached to the hip, in terms of how they see it and how they're going to communicate it so that they can be efficient with their communication, especially in that noise that we dealt with. Even at home, it's every team's going to bring different issues with their protection looks, but the center and the quarterback better be joined at the hip and see things the same way. And at the end of the day, what matters the most is that they are on the same page as of Sunday morning with how we see the protections and the looks.
Joe Burrow called this a critical three-game stretch. You'll have what makes this maybe so unique as you enter the bye week.
It completes the first half of the season, but I'll be honest, I'm just remaining focused on this game right here. This is obviously a big one. Both teams have come off, big wins that, for obvious reasons, San Francisco, New Orleans, really good, respected teams, and we need to find a way to create some momentum here with another win on top of a win to propel us forward.
Back to the line real quick. What's made Kappa a good silent count guy for you?
I beg,
Silent count guy.
silent count?
Yeah.
Oh, he's the veteran of the two, and so it's just he's done it before, and so it's easier to go that way with it. Because again, he's seen the looks, and so he kind of knows what to predict there and what to see. And the issue with putting the center's head between his legs is they can change a front. He's driving the communication. All of a sudden, they change the look on him at the last second when he puts his head down, and now you got problems. So that's why oftentimes teams have shifted to having the guard do it. Kappa does a great job. If there's any last-second communication he's got to give to Ted, I'm sure that he's able to do that pretty efficiently.
Ted has mentioned that he and Kappa communicate pretty frequently, whether it's silent or not, just making sure they're on the same page from a front standpoint because they've both been in the league, they both won Super Bowls, all that good stuff. There's a pretty good dynamic going on between those two guys.
Yeah, not just those two, all of them.
Right.
LC and Kappa and Jonah and Cordell and the interior guys. So that's something that's just, it's fun for me. I love walkthroughs for that reason, to hear those guys. I try to keep my distance so they have their time, but at the same time I do eavesdrop and I like to hear kind of some of the communication that goes on. And our guys they make it fun as a coach to hear those guys have that passion, and that level of communication is fun for guys like me and you to see and appreciate, because it's you can take it for granted sometimes. It's not always there, and our guys have it, and that's cool.
Shotgun's easier, like in the noise. I mean, that's a good way to defeat noise, right? But shotgun is easier than understanding.
I don't know. I don't know that I'd say that, because when you're the center's making the go call, when you're in the gun typically, and the tackles, they got to be in tune with seeing the ball move if they can't hear him, like they probably couldn't hear Ted last week, and so they got to have their eyes inside. Where the quarterback, he's at a little different level, and he can maybe be a little louder with the type of cadence, because it's not just one word, it's a string of it, so they can anticipate it a little bit better. So I think you could make an argument for a couple different things there. I'd probably say it's a little easier under center to be able to communicate that, but I could be wrong. I've been far enough removed from the situation where maybe I don't see it the same way.